Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for June 12th. June 12th is the 163rd day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 164th in leap years, with 202 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is Niagara. Niagara is a noun that means an outpouring or a deluge. This is named after the Niagara River, which forms Niagara Falls, a group of 3 massive waterfalls between the United States and Canada. Earliest documented use of Niagara in this context, 1800. And with that, we're going to start in the year 1924 with the birthday of George Herbert Walker Bush, born June 12, 1924. He was the 41st President of the United States, and he lived to the age of 94. This is the birthday of Anne Frank, born June 12, 1929. She got a diary for her 13th birthday and documented her life in hiding from 1942 to 1944, which was published posthumously as The Diary of a Young Girl. Unfortunately, she and her family were victims of the Holocaust, and she died when she was only 15 years old. This is the birthday of the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, which opened its doors on June 12, 1939. The museum has celebrated this day with great fanfare in the past, but of course everything changed in 2020. So the nature of celebration may be toned down, but it is still the Hall of Fame and Museum's birthday. So, happy birthday. By the way, have you ever been to Cooperstown? It's in New York, all right, but not New York City. No, Cooperstown is up in the middle of the state. It's a small village of about 2,200 to 2,500 residents. Now, I don't remember exactly why, perhaps a lively discussion among friends, but in 1905 a group was assembled to research the origins of baseball. This group was headed by a fellow named Abraham G. Mills. 3 years later, in 1908, the Mills Commission issued its final report, which determined that the first scheme for playing baseball, as they said it, was devised by Abner Doubleday at Cooperstown, New York in 1839. Nearly 100 years after that, in 1935, what has come to be called the Doubleday baseball, considered to be the first modern baseball, was discovered in a farmhouse near Cooperstown, over in Fly Creek, if I remember correctly. Anyway, it had a stitched cover and cloth stuffing and has become a symbol of the legendary first baseball game of 1839 in Cooperstown, New York. So then, a man named Stephen C. Clark purchased the Doubleday baseball for the sum of $5 and created a one-room display of baseball objects in a local Cooperstown club. It attracted wide attention, and they didn't waste any time then. The Hall of Fame was established and inducted its first 5 players. The first 5, by the way, were Ty Cobb, Walter Johnson, Christy Mathewson, Babe Ruth, and Honus Wagner. Cobb earned the most votes, but I think I remember he was mad because the vote wasn't unanimous for him. The National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum opened in Cooperstown on June 12, 1939, coinciding with baseball's centennial celebration. By that time, 25 players had been elected to the Hall of Fame, and the 11 living Hall of Famers traveled to Cooperstown to celebrate baseball's centennial. It was huge. When I worked at the Hall of Fame, there was this darling little woman who worked there who had attended that first ceremony when she was a little girl. I've placed a link in the show notes if you'd like more information about the National Baseball Hall of Fame. There's lots of information about baseball you can get. They have a stunning research library and, of course, a museum store where you can get cool memorabilia. So, check out the show notes for a link to the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum. Now, it was on this day in 1963 that civil rights leader Medgar Evers was murdered in the driveway of his home in Jackson, Mississippi. He was the field secretary for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, and traveled widely in support of voting rights and school integration for African Americans. He was just 37 years old. On this day in 1967, the United States Supreme Court declared all state laws prohibiting interracial marriage to be unconstitutional. For today's song, we're going to feature the song Take Me Out to the Ballgame. in honor of the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum and baseball in general. This song is what is known as a Tin Pan Alley song, written in 1908 by Jack Norworth and Albert von Tilzer. I don't think it ever hit number one on a chart anywhere, but it did become the unofficial anthem of North American baseball. I don't usually play songs that I mention because of copyright issues, but this version of this song is in the public domain, so we'll get a few seconds of it here. The song's chorus is typically sung in the middle of the 7th inning of a baseball game, or the 5th inning if it's a doubleheader, and fans are encouraged to sing along. Interesting note, neither Mr. Norworth nor Mr. Von Tilzer had actually been to a baseball game when they wrote this song. Take me out to the ball game. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that is called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, Parler, BitChute, and Getter. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.